I need to tell you something, and I need you to actually hear it, not just listen, not just let it play in the background while you do something else. Hear it, because I am 95 years old, and the thing I am about to tell you took me 65 years to understand. 65 years. That is longer than most of you have been alive. I spent 65 years learning a lesson that was right in front of my face the entire time. And by the time I finally understood it, most of the people I should have used it for were already gone now. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, here is another old person telling me life is short. I know. You have heard it. You have read it on coffee mugs and birthday cards and Instagram posts with sunsets behind them. Life is short. Live every day. No regrets. You have heard all of it, and it changed a thing. Because hearing something is not the same as understanding it, and understanding it is not the same as feeling it in your chest at 3 a.m. when the house is completely quiet, and you are lying there thinking about all the people who are gone now, and all the things you never said. That is where I have been living for the last 30 years, and I do not want that for you. So stay with me, because what I have to say is not what you think it is. I want to tell you about a Tuesday night in 1971. An ordinary Tuesday, nothing special about it. Not a holiday, not an anniversary. Just a Tuesday in November when the heat had not quite come on properly, and the kitchen was a little cold, and I was washing dishes after dinner. My husband Edward was in the living room. I could hear the television. He called out to me, said something. I cannot remember now exactly what he said. Something small, something that needed an answer. And I said, "Just a minute, I'm finishing up in here." Just a minute. He died 4 days later. Heart attack, no warning, no time to prepare. On a Saturday morning he was there, and by Saturday afternoon he was not. And the last real thing I said to him was, "Just a minute." I have carried those 2 words for 54 years. Just a minute. And here is what I want you to understand about that. The dishes got finished, the kitchen got clean, and I would give everything I have ever owned, every single thing, to have left those dishes in that sink and gone and sat with him instead. That is the moment my life split in two, before I understood, and after. The tragedy is it took me another 20 years to actually change. And because knowing something and living differently because of it are 2 completely separate things, and the gap between them is where most of a life gets quietly wasted. Stay with me, because the story of Edward is not even the hardest part. The hardest part is what happened after, and what I kept doing, even after I knew better. After Edward died, I made myself a promise, the way people do after a loss. I promised I would be more present, more patient, more intentional about the time I had with the people I loved. I meant it completely, and within 6 months I had broken every part of it, not dramatically, not in one big moment of failure, quietly, gradually, the way a river cuts through rocks so slowly you cannot see it happening, until one day you look and everything has changed. Life came back in. Responsibilities came back in. Busyness came back in. The boys needed things. Work needed things. The house needed things. And little by little, day by day, I drifted back to where I was before. Back to just a minute. Back to not now. Back to, we'll do that when things settle down. And here is the thing that haunts me most about that. I thought I was doing well. I genuinely believed I had learned my lesson. I thought the grief had changed me, but grief does not change you automatically. Grief just hurts you. What you do with the hurt, that is the part that takes real work. Work I was not willing to do. Work I kept postponing. Work I told myself I would get around to. I remarried in 1979. A good man named Harold. Quiet, patient. The kind of man who would let you talk yourself out before he said a single word back. And we had 17 years together before his health began to fail. And in those 17 years, I still said not now more than I should have. I still sometimes sighed when he wanted to talk when I was tired. I still sometimes looked past him at the television while he was telling me something. Not always, not even most of the time, but enough. Enough that I remember it now. Enough that it sits in me like a stone. Because here is what nobody tells you about getting old. You do not just lose the people you love. You lose them over and over again. Every time something reminds you of them. Every time a memory surfaces. And in that memory is always another moment you wasted. Another time you were half there. Another conversation you heard but did not listen to. The loss never ends. It just keeps finding new rooms to sit in. I need to tell you about my daughter, Carol. She was my youngest, the one who looked most like me when she was little, the one who used to climb into my bed on Saturday mornings and want to talk about everything, every small, rambling, beautiful thing that was on her 7-year-old mind. And I loved those mornings. I truly did. But sometimes, and I am telling you this because it is true, and the truth is the only thing worth anything at my age, sometimes I would lie there listening to her talk, and half my mind was already somewhere else, already on the grocery list, the phone call I needed to make, the thing at work that was worrying me. She was right there, pouring herself into me, and I was half somewhere else. Carol passed 12 years ago. She was 68. And what I think about now, what I cannot stop thinking about, is not the big moments, not the holidays or the birthdays or the times we traveled together. What I think about is those Saturday mornings when she was 7 years old, and how many of them I was only halfway in. How many of those little rambling, beautiful conversations I received with half a heart. She deserved a whole heart every single time. And I am sitting here at 95 telling you that because I want you to feel it. I want it to land somewhere real in you, not just pass through. The people in your life right now, the ones who talk to you when you are tired, the ones who want your attention when you have already given most of it away to something else today, the ones you say just a minute to, they are not going to be there forever. I know that sentence sounds like every other thing you have heard, but I am not saying it as a concept. I am saying it as a woman who has watched it happen more times than she can count. They will not always be there, and when they are gone, you will not miss the days you gave them your full attention. You will miss the days you didn't. I want to tell you about Sophie, my great-granddaughter. She came to visit me last spring, and what happened during that visit is the most honest thing I can say to you today. Sophie is 19 years old, bright girl, beautiful girl, the whole world ahead of her. She drove 2 hours to come see me last spring, and she spent most of the visit looking at her phone. Now, I did not say anything. What would I say? I remember being young. I remember thinking the urgent things were urgent. And I remember thinking that every moment in the present tense was guaranteed to still be available tomorrow. So I just watched her, and I thought, she thinks this will always be here. She thinks I will always be here. She thinks she can come back next month and the month after that and have all the time in the world to sit with her old great-grandmother and actually be present. She does not know yet. She cannot know yet, because the only thing that teaches you this lesson is losing someone before you were finished with them. And I sat there looking at the top of her head bent over that little screen, and I hoped, I genuinely hoped, that she does not have to lose someone she loves to finally understand. That maybe somehow someone will tell her before, while there is still time to do something about it. That is why I am here. That is why. At 95 years old, I am sitting in front of this camera with whatever I have left, talking to you, a stranger, because you are Sophie, and I need you to hear this before the loss teaches it to you the hard way. I told you at the beginning that it took me 65 years to understand the lesson. I want to tell you exactly what I finally understood, because it is not what you think. It is not that life is short. Everybody knows life is short. You have known that since you were old enough to understand the concept of death. Knowing it has not changed anything. It did not change anything for me either. What I finally understood at 87 years old, sitting alone on a porch on a summer evening, watching the light go down, is this: you will forget. That is the real lesson. Not that life is short, but that you will forget over and over and over again. You will forget. You will have a loss, a scare, a close call, a moment that cracks you open, and you will make yourself a promise, and you will mean it completely. And then life will come back in, and the busyness will come back in, and the ordinary will come back in, and you will forget, and you will drift back to where you were, and you will start believing again, slowly, quietly, without even noticing that you have time, that tomorrow is available, that later is a real place you can actually go. This is the cycle that ate most of my life. Not one big mistake, not one catastrophic failure, just this quiet cycle of forgetting and drifting, over and over, for 65 years. And the thing I finally understood on that porch at 87 is that the answer is not to try harder to remember. The answer is to build something that pulls you back when you forget, a practice, a habit, a daily question you ask yourself, something that keeps returning you to what actually matters before the drift takes you too far. My grandmother called it keeping your eyes on the pot. You do not have to watch it every second, but you have to keep coming back to check. Keep coming back before it boils over, before something burns that cannot be unburned. I am telling you this not because it will fix everything. I am telling you this because I want you to know the drift is coming. It is always coming. It comes for everyone. The question is not whether you will forget. The question is how quickly you will notice and how honestly you will come back. We are almost done. But I have one more thing I want to say. The most practical thing. The thing I wish someone had handed me when I was your age, like a note in my pocket. Something I could read on the ordinary Tuesdays, before the dishes were done, before the just a minutes added up into a life. I am not going to tell you to quit your job and travel the world. I am not going to tell you to seize every moment or live like you are dying. That is not real. That is not how life works. You have responsibilities. You have obligations. You have a whole life to maintain. I understand that. What I'm going to tell you is something much smaller and much harder. Think of one person in your life who deserves more of your attention than you have been giving them. Not more of your time necessarily. More of your actual attention. Your phone face down. Nowhere else to be. I am completely here with you attention. One person. Just one. And the next time you are with them, be there, not mostly there. Not there when you get through checking your messages. There, fully, completely. Without the half of your mind that is already somewhere else. That is it. That is the whole thing. That is the lesson that cost me 65 years. Not a grand philosophy, not a complicated practice. Just showing up fully for the person in front of you. Before the visit ends. Before the call gets dropped. Before the Tuesday runs out. Your grandmother, is she still alive? Call her today. Not when you finish this, not after you check a few things. Today. Because I am a grandmother and I know exactly what she is doing right now. She is sitting somewhere, maybe looking at old photographs, maybe just watching the window. And she is thinking about you, not demanding anything, not expecting a call. Just quietly hoping and telling herself it is fine, that you are busy, that she understands, while it breaks something in her a little more each day. Call her. Your parents, if you are lucky enough to still have them, they are not going to be here forever. And when they are gone, you will not lie awake thinking about the argument from 5 years ago. You will lie awake thinking about the calls you did not make, the visits you postponed, the times you could have just sat with them and did not. I know this because I am that parent now. I know this because I was once too busy to call. And now I am the one by the window. Go. Not when things settle down. Not when this busy season ends. Not when you have more time, more energy, more money, more whatever. Now. Because later is the lie we all tell ourselves. And I have been alive long enough to tell you with absolute certainty, later never comes. I am 95 years old. I have been alive for 34,675 days. And if I am honest, truly, completely, painfully honest, I was fully present for maybe a few hundred of them. The rest I was somewhere else in my head, planning, worrying, drifting, half there. That is my real regret, not anything I did. What I missed while I was doing it. I cannot get those days back. But you still have yours. Today is still yours. The person you are going to see tonight is still here. The voice on the other end of that phone is still there to pick up. The ordinary Tuesday evening is still available, and it will not always be. So I am asking you not as a piece of advice, as a request from a 95-year-old woman who learned this 65 years too late. Put the phone down. Look at the person across from you. Actually look at them and be there with them, all the way there while you still can. That is all. That is everything. That is the whole lesson. Go use it.